On a crisp autumn morning in 1970, a medical researcher sat on a simple cushion, closed his eyes, and decided to watch his own breath. To the casual observer, this man was doing absolutely nothing. But inside the quiet theater of his own skull, a revolution was being staged. That man was John Kabat-Zinn, and his quiet rebellion would eventually help spark a global paradigm shift, dragging an ancient Eastern practice out of mysticism and directly into modern neuroscience. He discovered that sitting still and paying attention is not a passive retreat from life, but the most radical, transformative act of self-mastery a human being can perform. We live in an age of unprecedented velocity. We have faster microprocessors, instantaneous global communication, and lifestyles that demand we constantly sprint just to stay in the same place. We are plugged into an omnipresent digital matrix that feeds our anxieties and systematically fragments our consciousness. Yet, in our wildly successful quest to conquer the outer world, we have utterly lost mastery over our inner world. We are drowning in information while starving for wisdom. We fill every spare micro-moment with noise and notifications because we are terrified of what we might encounter if we actually stop, sit still, and look inside. Most people move through life under the illusion that they possess a mind, that they are the authors of their internal monologue. The reality is exactly the opposite. The mind possesses them. We are driven and whipped through our days by a chaotic, unstoppable torrent of judgments, regrets, and anxieties. Ancient philosophies call this the monkey mind, an untrained intellect that leaps frantically from branch to branch, screaming at every shadow. Today, this wild monkey has been handed a smartphone and a 24-hour news cycle. The real power of meditation is that it offers the only true, sustainable rebellion against this internal tyranny. It is nothing less than the ultimate technology for human optimization and psychological liberation. To understand this power, we must dismantle the myth that meditation is about stopping your thoughts. Expecting the mind to stop thinking is like asking the heart to stop beating. The secretion of thoughts is a natural, biological function of the human brain. The goal of meditation is not to violently suppress this mechanism, but to fundamentally change your relationship to it. It is not about clearing the waves off the ocean. It is about learning how to surf. Meditation moves you from being helplessly caught inside the roaring current of thought to sitting safely on the riverbank, calmly watching the water flow by. You cease to be the frantic thought itself, and you become the quiet, spacious awareness that notices the thought. Furthermore, meditation is entirely secular, empirical, and scientific. Just as lifting a heavy iron barbell will tear and rebuild muscle fibers regardless of your beliefs, practicing meditation will structurally alter your neurology. It is a first-person science where the laboratory is your own body and mind. It is also the exact opposite of escapism. When you sit down and commit to staying put, you strip away every distraction you normally use to numb yourself. You force yourself to confront whatever is actually present. The physical ache in your lower back, the tightness of anxiety in your chest, or the burning sting of unexpressed anger. You choose to meet your life face to face without a filter. For decades, the scientific establishment looked upon these claims with deep skepticism. But the dawn of the 21st century brought a technological revolution in neuroimaging. With the development of fMRI and EEG, scientists gained the ability to peer directly into the living human brain. What they discovered upended centuries of medical dogma by proving neuroplasticity, the extraordinary ability of the brain to structurally and functionally reorganize itself in response to deliberate training. Your brain is not a static stone monument. It is a dynamic, living sculpture. Brain scans revealed that after just 8 weeks of consistent meditation practice, the physical gray matter density in the amygdala begins to shrink. The amygdala is the body's ancient, hypersensitive alarm system, responsible for the fight-or-flight response. In the modern world, our amygdalae are perpetually stuck on position by unread emails and social stress, drowning us in cortisol and adrenaline. Concurrently, scientists observed a measurable increase in the thickness and density of the prefrontal cortex, the seat of executive function, logical reasoning, and emotional regulation. By shrinking the amygdala and strengthening the prefrontal cortex, meditation physically rewires the neurological pathways of stress, widening the gap between the stimulus and your reaction. Neuroscientists also isolated a network known as the default mode network, or the DMN. This is a collection of interconnected brain regions that fires up when we are daydreaming, worrying about the future, or spinning elaborate, self-critical narratives about ourselves. It is the neurological seat of the ego and the engine of the monkey mind. When an individual practices meditation, the activity in the default mode network dramatically quietens down. The brain stops wasting vast amount of energy spinning useless, stressful fictional narratives, grounding the individual firmly in the actual reality of the present moment. This transformation cascades downward into the entire human body. Meditation activates the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest mode of our biology, by stimulating the vagus nerve. This instantly lowers the heart rate, reduces blood pressure, and halts the production of inflammatory cytokines, which are the dark root of most degenerative diseases. Groundbreaking research even showed that intensive meditation increases the activity of telomerase, an enzyme responsible for repairing and lengthening telomeres, the protective caps at the ends of our chromosomes. By protecting the structural integrity of our DNA, meditation literally slows aging on a cellular level. Yet, these biological benefits are ultimately secondary side effects of a much deeper shift. Most of our psychological pain does not stem from the actual events of our lives, but from the unexamined, automatic stories we tell ourselves about those events. We live in a state of constant resistance to reality, wishing the present moment were different than it is. This resistance creates an immense, exhausting friction. There's a simple formula for this truth. Suffering equals pain multiplied by resistance. Pain is an inevitable part of the human condition. We will all experience illness, loss, and disappointment. But suffering is entirely optional. It is the baggage we add through our refusal to accept what is. Meditation breaks this equation by training us to meet our pain with a radical, non-judgmental acceptance. When resistance drops to zero, the suffering evaporates, leaving only the clean, workable reality of the pain itself. This creates a profound, spacious gap between stimulus and response. In that gap lies our entire freedom as a human being. When you meditate, you learn to sit quietly and watch an emotion arise without reacting to it. You feel the heat of anger flare up, but instead of lashing out, you simply observe its physical characteristics. Because all emotions are inherently impermanent. If you do not actively stoke the fire with new thoughts, the emotion will naturally rise, peak, and dissolve like a passing storm cloud. You cease to be the weather, you become the sky. You no longer say, "I am angry," which implies an absolute identity. Instead, you realize, "I notice anger arise within me right now." You strip thought of their power to hurt you simply by refusing to mistake them for reality. To achieve this, meditation utilizes diverse techniques. In focused attention practice, you anchor your awareness to a single object, such as the sensation of the breath. Every single time your mind wanders and you gently bring it back, you are flexing your attentional muscles and reclaiming your capacity for deep focus from a distraction-engineered culture. In open monitoring practice or mindfulness, you widen the lens to observe the entire stream of consciousness as an impartial witness, cultivating an extraordinary psychological flexibility. In loving kindness practice, you systematically direct heartfelt wishes of safety and happiness first to yourself, then to loved ones, neutral strangers, difficult adversaries, and ultimately all living beings. This practice physically alters your emotional brain, dissolving ingrained pathways of bias and replacing them with a default setting of empathy. The real goal of meditation is the development of permanent traits, enduring structural changes in your personality, rather than temporary states of calm on a cushion. The real meditation is how you live your life with your eyes wide open. It is how you respond when someone cuts you off in traffic, how you communicate with your partner when you're exhausted, and how you handle professional failure. A seasoned meditator brings the unshakable presence of the cushion directly into the chaotic arena of daily life, acting as the calm eye of the hurricane. Our modern culture has conditioned us to believe that happiness is defined by accumulation, wealth, status, and digital validation. We are taught that fulfillment is always located just around the next corner. Meditation is a radical realization that this endless chasing is a fool's errand on a biological treadmill. It is a process of radical subtraction, peeling away the old conditioning, false narratives, and protective armor you built to survive a wounding world. It is a homecoming to the pristine awareness that you were before the world told you who you were supposed to be. The world today stands on a knife's edge, facing existential crises of fragmentation, polarization, and ecological degradation. These macro problems are not separate external phenomena. They are the direct, collective projections of our individual internal chaos. War is unexamined anger magnified onto a geopolitical scale. Environmental destruction is human greed writ large. We can never build a peaceful world out of individual minds that are at war with themselves. Therefore, the work of inner transformation is the absolute foundation of all meaningful social change. When you choose to sit in silence, tame your mind, and meet your own suffering with compassion, you introduce a potent cell of sanity into collective human consciousness. It begins when you close your external eyes so that you can finally see, taking one deep, fully conscious breath and dropping with absolute presence into the sacred majesty of the now.